Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Minnesota Vikings mock drafts are officially unhinged.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and I refuse to address the rumors swirling about me on draft weekend.
This is Arif Hassan with Pro Football Network, and a lawsuit with the voting machine company has not forced me out yet out of Locked On Minnesota.
We'll address all of the rumors about the Vikings and about apparently our hosts on today's Minnesota football party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota football party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota football party. And it starts now.
Welcome into a new week, draft week on the Minnesota football party. I'm Sam Ekstrom at Sam Ekstrom, covering the Vikings here at Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm joined by the esteemed duo of Arif Hassan, Pro Football Network, and Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. We're going to get into these insane Minnesota Vikings mock draft speculations. Will Levis at number 2, Richardson at 23, and everything in between. Mock draft season is officially off the rails. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Find draft props at FanDuel.com/LockedOn and get started today. On today's show, in addition to some of these crazy mocks that we will address, we're going to do a mock of our own. We're going to do the trade back mock edition and see what, in theory, the Vikings could attain if they trade back every pick on the first 2 days. I also think it's a good time to reminisce about when times were simpler, when the Vikings simply let the clock run out and took Kevin Williams, and mock drafts were barely even a thing. That's all today on the Minnesota football party, which is available on Locked On Sports Minnesota, which is available for free on YouTube. Subscribe there. We recently reached 5,000 subscribers. We're very happy about that. And we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Amazon Fire and Roku devices, the Locked On Sports Minnesota app. This is what I woke up to today, guys. And for a Monday morning, this is just a little too much for me to handle. Peter King, who has a lot of respect in the NFL community. I'm not going to lie. He's plugged in, and a lot of the things he says are generally correct. He's got Anthony Richardson falling to the Vikings at 23. That is hard for me to believe. And maybe he's kind of feeding into, well, the Vikings are rumored to be going after a quarterback, but Richardson falling to 23, I'm scratching my head that he would get to that point. And then a little later, I see the Draft Network mocking the Vikings in a 21-pick trade-up from 23 to 2 to select Will Levis out of Kentucky from 23 to 2. So I ask you, Arif Hassan and Luke Braun, let's start with Arif, which of these scenarios is more unrealistic?
I mean, the trade up to 2 is like the Anthony Richardson thing. You can figure out how that happens, right? You can like do the math in your head and say, well, we know he's not a perfect quarterback prospect. We know, these are the X, Y, and Z problems with him. Hey, Malik Willis fell to like the 3rd, and Sam Howell fell to like the 5th or whatever, or one of those quarterbacks, Matt Corral, whatever, right? We know that these guys that fall in the draft, that's all conceivable, and Anthony Richardson is by no means a perfect prospect, right? That's conceivable. The math to get up to 2 from 23 is so tough to do. It's so tough to do. that Luke and I were trying to figure out if they're even allowed to move the assets that they would need to move in order, like before the show, in order for this to happen, right? But and I didn't look it up. My memory is such that I think that as soon as the draft starts, they'll have 2026 picks available to them. But I could be just confusing that with the rules in my dynasty league, right? So like it's I think I'm like giving you a good indication of why I think this one's less realistic, right? It seems so impossible. Like you could move Dalvin Cook and that'll get you optimistically a third. You could move za'darius Smith, that would give you optimistically a fourth, right? You could move, I don't know, Danielle Hunter, what would that get you, a second? And that's still not enough to move. Like that's crazy.
The trade value difference between 23 and 2 is nearly 2,000 points. So the value of future firsts is what exactly? Like if you
tend to discount next year's pick by a round, right? So a future first is largely equivalent to this year's second, right? Or 2025 first is largely equivalent to a third. The further out you go, the less harsh that discount is, it seems. But like,
yeah,
it's pretty big discount.
So you're never going to make up
2,000
2,000 points with future picks. I mean that's what I'm hearing. Yeah,
I mean, like
you'd have,
and especially for a quarterback, right? Like
a little.
Sorry, Luke. Remember when Washington traded up with the Rams for Robert Griffin? They were moving up from 23. They were moving up from like 16 or something like that, 11. Like they were not moving up from 3, and they traded everything in the world for it. And the Vikings have less capital than the Rams did then.
You would probably have to do it as 2 separate trades. They would probably have already had to like trade up with the Patriots at 14 or something, and then they'd be at 14, and then it feels a little more realistic. But
then
also, like when you're trying to come
assets in the trade up to 14,
yeah, right.
They'd have like 3 picks to work with.
And like finding the math that works there is really, really hard. And also, even if you did find the math that works and you find something that's like technically equivalent, nothing is stopping the Texans from being like, yeah, but we only really want to move back 3 spots and we got this decent deal from Seattle. So bye, and hanging up.
Right.
And then
it's
just over. Which happens all the time when you try to.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we can realize the gains of this trade in 2025 or in 2 minutes. Yeah, I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Texans are doing mad calculations to be like, all right, is Bijan going to be on the board at 23? That's our guy. I don't know. I don't know. And that's why they would say no, because they want Bijan Robinson. But go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
And well, with Richardson falling, I do think that it feels like a quarterback sliding is really doable. You just have to parlay a whole bunch of. Yeah, well, if Hooker's part of that list, then I guess that
because Peter King has Hooker going above Richardson, so that would definitely mean Richardson slides, right?
Oh, then yeah,
because now you're just running out of teams that even want a quarterback.
Because you'd have to envision him sliding past the Titans, which maybe they take a quarterback, maybe they say we'll keep running with Tannehill, and then the Commanders, well, they've been talking about Howell a lot, and the Bucks, well, they've been talking about Trask a lot. Be a crazy decision to go with those guys over Richardson, but they've been talking such that you can see it happening. And suddenly, if you can talk yourself into like 3 or 4 teams that might take a quarterback, not taking a quarterback, suddenly he's there at 23. Like that doesn't feel nearly as crazy as, I don't know, the moving up to 2 feels like something you could only accomplish in like Ultimate Pro Football GM, ultimate-gm.com, promo code locked on for a 100% boost your team.
Let's see this mock on Draft Network that has the Vikings moving up has Richardson going 4. And just out of curiosity, the Texans, how do they just say trade? They don't tell us what the trade is. I think if you're gonna make a bold prediction like that, you need to tell us what the compensation is. They're taking Quentin Johnston at number 23 in that deal, with presumably 8 first-round picks that they've gotten from the Vikings. And
Dalvin and za'darius and Daniil and Harrison. I don't know, who cares?
Toss them all in.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell, toss him in too. No, we like Kevin O'Connell. So the Anthony Richardson drop is interesting to me, and I feel like it's a no-brainer for the Vikings at that pick. I just think that for about most of the 5 teams in front of them would also have the same thought, that if Anthony Richardson is falling into the late teens, that you're almost compelled to pull the trigger there. So
right, like what stops the Buccaneers from drafting him? Like that's a tough one.
Exactly. So I don't think that a Richardson fall is unrealistic. I just think that falling to 23, not having to trade up at all to get the falling Richardson, that there, even if teams didn't want Richardson, there would be smoke screens, right? Like that there would be activity to try to coax a team to move up like the Vikings. So I don't think there's any scenario where the Vikings sit at 23 and get Richardson. I think that's Hooker. Like, I think that it's realistic that teams wouldn't have a first-round grade on Hooker, and some teams would. I don't think the same about Richardson. That's why I think that is a ludicrous possibility that Minnesota just stays put and has him fall in their lap.
Yeah, I think that, like, and it's always tough, right? Like, yeah, we've got the consensus board, and that tells us that Richardson is considered like a first-round quarterback, and that's fine. But, like, if you take a look at, like, just the team visits, right? If you take a look at who the Panthers have visited and who the Colts have visited, they visited those 4 quarterbacks. They did not visit Hendon Hooker, right? So neither of them did. So that to me kind of sends a fairly strong signal, right? That these are the 4 quarterbacks that one would expect to go in the top 10. Now, not all of them are necessarily going to go in the top 10, right? Atlanta might actually be committed to Desmond Ridder. Las Vegas might be in love with Jimmy, right? Or not Jimmy. No, it is Jimmy, right? It's Darren
yeah, Jimmy G.
Yeah. Sorry, just confusing all these quarterback moves, right? Like all like they might
all these Kirks.
All these Kirks, just all the Kirk movement, right? And plus Tannehill's on the trade block, right? So, a lot of Kirk movement.
And there's another Kirk?
Yeah. But yeah, so like, you could conceivably say, hey, some of these teams are not going to be on a quarterback, but like the valuation from 2 of the top quarterback needy teams is such that like these are the guys, right? And so it's really difficult for me to conceive of Richardson. Like, you didn't see that with like all of the quarterbacks last year that fell, right? So it is really difficult for me to think that Richardson is behind Hooker in a lot of ways or out of the first round.
Did the Vikings overplay their hand if they wanted to sneakily grab a quarterback? Like, was this a sophomore mistake by Kwesi to sort of play into this a little bit, to say that, to talk about the value of quarterbacks? Obviously they haven't committed to Kirk beyond this year. It feels very telegraphed. Or is that the smoke screen where they actually aren't feeling quite as needy, and maybe they can, surprise us a different way? Bron, what do you think?
I feel like every single national outlet is like, well, the Vikings are trying to move up for a quarter. Like, everyone just knows. I don't know. The cat's just out of the bag. What are you going to do? If it is a smokescreen and they actually don't want to move up for a quarterback, that's one of the most intense smoke screens. That's a great
that would
screen.
Be
well
phenomenal.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, because quarterback is such a passionately seeked out position that maybe that's how Kwesi trades back. Maybe that's how Kwesi gets the extra picks, is that someone leapfrogs to 23 and gets their quarterback.
Well, maybe. Here's a theory. Here's a prediction.
Okay. Tinfoil hat?
The football theory.
Get out here, Reef. The tinfoil hat is under repair.
Did the Rabbits get it?
The Packers finished their trade with the Jets. 2 second-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. It finally goes through. That Ian Rappaport said that talks have resumed now that it's draft week. There's a little more urgency to it. Let's say they get that done. And then from one of those picks in the 40s, Packers come up to 23. And they select Hendon Hooker. I'm feeling it.
Sure. Yeah, why
not?
We
will enable them. We'll give them all the resources they need to torpedo their franchise by trading up for Hendon Hooker, alienating Jordan Love, and sending themselves into a decades-long spiral.
It's just a theory. A football theory.
Jordan Love are they like a week away from having to decide on his 5th year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they picking that up?
Yeah. Like the only way any of this works is if they even if they don't trade Aaron Rodgers, is if they have team control of Jordan Love. They have to. So I think that it is what my guess is that I don't think that there's like necessarily, I mean, there could be, but my guess is not that there are leaks from the Vikings organization saying, man, we'd really like a quarterback. My guess is that the Vikings have called a lot of GMs picking ahead of them and asked for the price of the picks without doing anything else, without being like, hey, we're really curious about, if our guy falls, he might throw the ball. Who knows? But I don't think that's what I think. They're just saying, hey, what's the price of number 2? Hey, what's the price of number 4? It's good to know the price of things, but when you're asking, that means people are going to interpret that as interest, and maybe they are interested in moving up, but maybe it's not for a quarter. So I think that's what's happening, and teams are reading into those phone calls. It's like, man, to trade up from 23 to 4, they must want a quarterback, right? And so I think that this is just a way of figuring out the market and less a way of them necessarily getting a quarterback. Now, obviously, very easy to connect the dots. They did not extend Kirk Cousins, right? So like it's not as if there's nothing there, but
right. There's objective evidence.
Right. But my interpretation is not that the Vikings are a leaky ship, but rather that there's a lot of moves that they're making that can be interpreted in a variety of ways, and a lot of things that have happened that can point towards a quarterback. When you combine them, it very much looks like they're desperate for a quarterback in a way that I don't think is necessarily true. It would not shock me if Hendon Hooker was not a first-round grade for the Vikings, and a bunch of people are just attaching them to him because he's the only one that makes sense at 23, right? Like if you're connecting,
he's the only one on the board when they do that, when they're done with their mock, because they're not doing trades in the mock. So they're like, well, they clearly like a quarterback.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, look at all these moves that they're like talking, wow, they must be really interested in a quarterback. Well, there aren't any quarterbacks left. So Hendon Hooker. Wow, I'm hearing a lot of steam on Hendon Hooker.
He's next.
Round pick.
Yeah, right. I have a feeling that they're like in hard on someone, like they're really in love with someone. And so, yeah, they'll go figure out, okay, how can we trade up for this guy? When does the market make sense? How far do we need him to fall? They've done a lot of work on all these quarterbacks, like a lot of homework on all these quarterbacks. So I don't know which guy it is, but I have a feeling that they're like really in love with someone. That's just speculation.
I will say this: in the most recent, yet to be published iteration of the consensus big board, Hendon Hooker has moved up dramatically. He's moved up dramatically from 60 to 49. I'm not buying the first round stuff.
We can't keep letting the CIA do this.
Hooker is 49. Where is Richardson?
11.
Where is Levis?
Oh, wait. He was 50 something last time I looked.
Oh, yeah. He's like 54, 59. So Levis is, he used to be above Richardson. Now he is 19. So it's
19.
Tough place for him to be.
That's just, I haven't seen a lot of, now is that, these are big boards. These are like overall top players. This isn't a mock average.
Right. Like if you went to grinding the mocks and looked at essentially their consensus mock, Will Levis is going real high.
Okay. 10. Yeah. That's an important clarification. So, okay. If the Vikings trade up, not for a quarterback, who is a player that you would make that move for? Let's arbitrarily say to 19 with the Bucks. Trade up 4 picks. What non-quarterback would you be infatuated with?
To 19, it's only 4 spots. That would be interesting. Probably one of those top 3 corners then, right? Like if like Joey Porter Jr. falls, or whatever, right? Yeah. Then
I think Joey Porter, he feels like the one that would be most likely to feasibly be that guy. Because Gonzalez and Witherspoon, I feel like they're just like gone in the top 10. Like they're just way out of reach.
Yeah,
but Joey Porter,
right now
people might. He's like, too physical, too grabby. We don't really like him. We'll take Deontay Banks instead. And like he could maybe be still there.
Right. Yeah. Gonzalez and Witherspoon right now are 6 and 8, and Joey Porter is 13. So it seems very much like after it was difficult to distinguish between the top 3. I mean, like there's a general understanding that Gonzalez was first, and then is it maybe Porter? Is it maybe Witherspoon? Witherspoon's moved a lot up and down in the draft cycle, but now it seems very much solidified that it's like those 2 at the top, and then Porter. And it could be that, Porter could fall and do that. Other than that, I don't really see maybe JSN, maybe they just have him as a tier of receiver above everybody else. There's been a ton of talk right now about JSN moving up to wide receiver 1. That hadn't happened until like my last couple of big board updates. So, and he's still technically like wide receiver 2 in some of these constructions. So it is conceivable or possible that it could be for somebody like him.
This
I will
Draft
say
Network
though,
mock,
I don't
which
see that
is-
happening at all. I don't see them trading up a little bit just for like a non-quarterback. I think if it's not a quarterback, I think Kwesi's going to try to split this pick up and get more selections on day 2.
And I totally agree with you. And we're going to do a trading back mock here in a second. But I will say that this Draft Network mock, which is clearly unimpeachable on all draft and trade up issues, has Joey Porter Jr. falling to 22. So there's that. Bijan at 23. Vikings pull the trigger. What's your immediate reaction to that?
What are you doing? Why? Get good. Why are you doing this? That's my immediate reaction.
Get good. Skill issue. What?
Yeah, right.
Mine would be
I did a whole...
you further ruined your leverage to trade Dalvin Cook if you haven't done it already.
I would imagine they've done it already there, but yeah, then they're probably just cutting him, and they're spending a first-round pick to save $6 million net on the cap. Feels like bad value, man. And I don't think you're.
Does that
like, and how much better are you getting?
Does that include the cost of the contract, the first-round pick?
Oh no, it doesn't even. So,
yeah, I was like, I don't think that includes that.
Nope.
Nope,
like... forgot about that too. So you're like nickel and dime. You're spending a first-round pick to nickel and dime. You're not actually, and like that's the thing about like with first round running backs and the rookie wage scale is that because now running back contracts have deflated so much, that it's like not even a good deal. I don't know, man. You'd have to think Bijan is like a lot better than Dalvin Cook, and I personally don't have that opinion.
I think he is significantly better, but it doesn't matter to me.
I'm lower on him than a lot of people, but I'm okay with that. I get it.
Sure. I think we end up in the same spot regardless. So
yeah.
I think that he's a special running back, and to me, that doesn't like mean a ton.
I have no evidence of this, but something tells me that Kwesi is looking for non-obvious reasons to sort of find value. Like, okay, the people of Kwesi's ilk, like the analytics types, have realized that running back is devalued. Okay, so now the majority are in that camp. He zigs and actually finds value in the other side of it, where he believes that if you get a top 10 player at 23, then actually you're finding value. That would be the justification for taking a beat.
I could see
like
him doing
a day
that,
2
but
thing.
Yeah, I could see him tricking himself like that. But the thing is, like the Patriots have been doing that forever, and their drafts suck. Like it's just like
terrible.
There's only so much that like knowing that you're smarter than everyone else gets you, because it turns out if you know that, you're wrong. Like that's the issue.
That's why the consensus board is so accurate, because the masses tend to be right.
Yeah, apparently even when they're drunk. So
this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook.
Speaking of being drunk and predicting things,
FanDuel.com/lockedon. We put $500 mythical dollars on draft props last Thursday. We can remind you of those on Thursday again as we go into the draft. You can find hundreds of lines, draft-related, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball. Find it all at FanDuel. Get a no-sweat first bet if you're a new customer. Up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right. Before we have our trade back mock, let's just get a little nostalgic here. Let's go back to 2003. Kevin Seifert wrote the 20th anniversary piece. The Vikings let the clock run out on their pick. And then 2 picks later got Kevin Williams. What do you remember from that draft, if you were even, involved in watching the draft 20 years ago? And it hasn't happened since. to that extent in the NFL draft. It was so bizarre and unprecedented. I was probably too young to appreciate how unprecedented it was, but that was crazy 20 years ago.
I mean, I don't remember watching it live or anything like that, and I haven't, unfortunately, read the Seaford piece yet. But I will say, the narrative coming away from a lot of this, especially in like the retrospective, is like, man, how silly were the Vikings? I can't believe they screwed that up. When, from my understanding, it was the Ravens' fault, right? Like it was entirely about
Ravens kind of screwed them. Yeah,
Yeah,
but they were like
it was
weren't ready for that to happen, which I guess you could say like
yeah, but sure,
like they weren't ready with a pick. They should at least have known, but
yeah, like
yeah,
sure,
they definitely
like,
got screwed more than they get
you're
credit
waiting
for.
for like the phone call to come in for the trade to occur with the Ravens, and the Ravens, I guess, just never make the call or whatever, right? And it's just like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could blame the Vikings for not having a pick in hand or something like that. And to that, but it's very much on the Ravens more than it is on the Vikings. And so that's like my memory of it. And then also, I think a lot of people forgot that Kevin Williams started out as a defensive end for the team and then transitioned to defensive tackle partway through his second year, I want to say, like midway through his second season. And he still like found a way to get like 9 sacks or something crazy like that. So, but yeah,
that turned into a sick draft. They came back day 2 or on rounds 2 and 3 and got EJ Henderson and Nate Burleson.
Jeez. All right.
They like home runned it and everybody made fun of them.
Yeah, right.
But
They killed that draft.
Like 2 years later, you get ticket scalping and the Wizinator and the Love Boat. Like that was just a really fun time to dunk on the Vikings. They were just the laughing stock of
Punching
the league.
bag.
And it's just who they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had to bring in,
like
that's like why they brought in Brad Childress.
Episode. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He's going to instill discipline in the team.
You gotta go the opposite way of everything. Right.
But like College Humor did like a whole podcast episode on 2005 Minnesota Vikings. They like brought Raph in and then he was like, hey, I'm not even a Vikings fan, but this is so funny. I need everybody who doesn't know about football
so funny
to learn about this team. So like, it's like, it got out there.
The timeline is so funny because the Wizinator happened and you're like, man, this is definitely going to be the thing we're talking about forever about the 2005 Vikings. And then 1 month later,
it's like that's not even the top 3 in topics.
Like they had so much more in them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're learning about okra
and Ziggy had the Wills had just bought them too. Like they bought into this team, and then it was like 6 scandals.
And the irony to me is that once the season kind of hit its stride, remember they went on that long winning streak after Dante got hurt. And they were actually like a really boring team from November on. They just went about their business. They won really ugly games. Like I'm looking at the scores, like 24-21 in the game where they didn't score an offensive touchdown, by the way. 2017, 24-12. Like they just like had these blue collar wins with Brad Johnson as their quarterback. Very little star power on offense. And they almost made the playoffs, but they were actually a super boring team the last 2 months.
It's crazy how good that team should have been. That team should have been one of the best teams we've ever seen.
That was still like a depleted coaching staff from Red McCombs, right? Because
McCombs didn't want to pay assistants.
But McCombs had a like a truncated staff because he didn't want to pay for like a full-on staff for most of the Tice tenure, but he wasn't there anymore, but I don't know if they had rectified that yet.
Trivia question, leading rusher on that team.
2005? I don't know, man. Was Weldy Moore on the team? I don't know.
Yeah.
Correct. Weldy Moore. Leading receiver.
Moss? I don't know.
Oh,
Moss was gone.
Oh, no, he just got traded, right?
Moss was just gone. Give me a sec.
It was an AC, right? He wasn't on the team.
No.
Oh, it was. Was it? Is there a Marcus Robinson name? Am I thinking of the wrong guy?
Yeah, he was third on the team in receiving.
Third.
Led him in touchdown receptions.
We were like pulling deep, like Ashley Lalise style.
Yeah. Oh, this was the years when they had like it wasn't Williamson, right? There's no way.
Was it Burleson?
Williamson was 4th in receiving. Burleson was 7th.
He must have got hurt or something. Was it a tight end? Was it like Jermaine Wiggins?
He was 2nd. You're filling out the Family Feud board here. We still got the top answer, though, on the available.
It's really like
a
if it
random
wasn't
name like Hank Basket or somebody I totally forgot about.
Hank Basket.
Initials TT.
Like Tyree.
Is there a Travis Taylor or is that a Timberwolf?
That's right. That's right. You
Okay.
got it. You got it.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Woo.
I swear to God there was a Timberwolf with a similar
Celebrate good
name.
times.
Travis Taylor.
Celebratory music.
Celebratory.
I just want to point out that
Yeah.
technically we're 1-1 on this one because I got Mweldy Moore.
Yeah. The years of like 05 through like until they got like Bernard Berrien in I think it was 08. The offenses, like those offensive rosters are hilarious.
Bleak.
That was a bleak time.
Who's that safety they signed for the Bengals in 08?
D.U. Williams?
Oh,
Yeah.
Nadeau Williams. Yeah, it was the weak
Yeah.
link in 2009.
Yeah. He got like a mega contract for the time.
Yeah.
I remember like
He was supposed to
being
be
in
the
the
missing
forums
piece.
arguing about his contract, and it was like 8 million or something like that, 11 million maybe, and it's just like, yeah, I can't imagine arguing about a contract like that now. It's just like whatever at the time. It was so big. At the time.
That's huge for back then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was enormous. He was like the highest paid safety in the league.
That was podcast gold. Let me also remind people that this is the final week that you can subscribe for pre-draft analysis via NFL Draft Buzz. That's the newsletter authored by our own Luke Inman. Subscribe at lockedonpodcast.com/newsletters for draft intel straight to your inbox. All right, profootballnetwork.com. Click the link or click the heading that says Draft Simulator, and you can simulate the draft for free. Let me do an old screen share here, and we can do a trade back version. So we're going to trade back everything and see how many first 3 rounds picks that we can amass. Hold tight here.
The goal is to
Screen share.
maximize in the top 100.
Goal is to maximize in the top 100.
All right.
Got
Do
it.
you see the
Are
screen?
we
Stroud
allowing
at 13. What's going on
players?
here?
What?
Oh boy.
Yeah, let's include
That-
players. Let's trade Dalvin.
Okay. Because we just got a line on DeAndre
that-
Hopkins.
that
Are
is
we
a-
letting the simulator give us
Dude.
nuke? Because this feels a little
How
off.
say yes? Yeah,
we have been
okay.
offered by
I-
Pro Football Network Simulator. The bot has offered us pick 34 nuke in exchange for our 1 and our 3. Now, is this really maximize? I think it is maximizing when you get nuke.
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
think
it
you
is.
can possibly get
optimizing
a better.
Certainly, I don't think you'll get. Well, it says we have 3 trade offers, so I suppose we could take a look. But I kind of want to accept this one blind. It technically does not
sure.
fulfill our original function of optimizing the number of top 100 picks.
It
I
does
think-
not.
we can make
I
that
think
at
no
all.
one cares. I think we're fine.
We
Let's
can
accept
make
it.
that up.
Yeah,
The
especially
only
'cause we'll
reason
trade back
not
at
to is if
34.
we go, that's not realistic enough. Maybe we shouldn't allow this to be part of the simulation. But if we're not doing that,
Cardinals-
yeah, we're slamming this.
Cardinals trades do not occur in the same universe as the rest of the trades. It's fine.
Very true.
Let's look at the other options.
2024
just to be
second.
through.
Oh,
Helps
ugh.
us move up for
Bengals
a
wanna
we
trade
do,
up
we do
here.
stay in the first round, but I don't. And then what's the other
It's
one?
no new.
Future second, and then giving
Derek
up a 1
Brown?
and a 4 for 39.
second
Derek
next year.
Brown and a future second.
Okay, Derek Brown is like a
We moved
fairly
down
underrated
less.
player, but
We move down less in the nuke trade.
yeah, let's get.
Oh,
pick
but we give up a
34
higher. We give up.
Yeah,
a
we give
third
up
instead of a
87.
fourth.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
let's
whatever.
take the Hopkins trade.
All right. DeAndre Hopkins.
We just won the draft.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't
Especially
care what
because
happens for
Deontay
the rest
Banks
of the day.
went up.
Poor KJ Osborne, though.
We missed out on Joey Porter, by the way. Which
All right.
Don't care.
34 pops up.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
not quite in
that's-
the top 100.
Yeah, that's not a top 100. What's the
The
other trade
Colts.
offer?
We got to explain this for the audio listeners. Now at
Oh, yeah,
34, the Colts have offered their one at 35 and their early
They're two.
fourth.
We're moving back one spot to move pick 158 up to 106, which I guess we could try to trade 106 back into the top 100. That'd probably
let's
be
take a look
pretty
at the
easy
other
to do.
offer.
We have another trade offer.
Pick 40 and Cesar Ruiz.
Wow.
Actually, he's not that good. I was just like excited to replace Bradbury, but actually Ruiz has not been playing all that hot. So okay, let's accept the Colts pick because we're literally losing nothing by
Close.
doing this.
What about we counter and try to like improve our haul?
I bet the
Sure.
Colts don't. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's counter.
Let's counter.
All right.
We can deal Hopkins.
Like, can
again.
we counter? Oh no, we
Hey,
already
we
got
can.
rid of- yeah,
They don't want Cook, do they?
probably not.
Let's try to get 79.
Sim will
and trade
probably
Dalvin.
let you do it anyways.
We're gonna trade Dalvin and try to get 79 out of it.
All right. There's no way they want Cook. Hey!
Accepted.
All right. Team up with
Yeah,
Jonathan
Jonathan
Taylor.
Taylor
trades
is
on the
running mate.
sim.
An expensive running mate. Who's their coach now?
They got a QB on a rookie contract. They can
They got
afford it.
Shane Steichen, right? They
Shane
ran a running,
Steichen.
yeah, they ran a running offense in Philadelphia. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And we only moved back one spot. And now we can get pick 40 and 71.
New Orleans no longer interested in offloading Cesar Ruiz. So they're offering pick 40 and pick 71 for 35 and a future fourth. Or Carolina, I kind of like this one more. Pick 39 and pick 93 for 35 and a future sixth.
I'd rather do the Panthers trade.
Yeah, give up the sixth instead of the fourth next year.
You
All right.
move back less and you give up a smaller pick next year. I think that's worth.
Yeah.
All right.
being
So
10
we've
spots lower in the
we've
top
got
100.
Hopkins.
That's crazy.
We've
We
got-
haven't drafted and we've already improved the team.
We've got 39.
Hey, we could get another receiver.
I need.
Look at
Can
that.
we take inventory?
Oh my God. Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton, Justin Jefferson, and DeAndre Hopkins. And all we had to do was give up pick 23.
I feel
and
so bad for
87.
KJ. This is amazing. I don't really want to move back 28 picks.
Elijah Cansey's still on the board, by the way.
Oh my God.
Packers.
Hey, the Packers pick 45 and a future third. I don't want to trade for future ones in this particular simulation.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
trying to maximize this top 100, right?
All right, let's reject both offers, right?
I agree.
And slam Elijah
And
Cansey.
then propose a trade to New Orleans at 40.
We'll get that 40th pick yet.
They keep trying to trade it. All right, 39,
All right, swapping
40,
firsts.
and then
And
seconds,
Bradley
really.
Rope.
Second.
And Bradley Roby. Hey, we can get a quarterback. Let's throw Bradley Roby in there.
Woo!
All right,
All right.
propose. Let's see what we got. Let's see if that's worth of one. Okay,
Declined.
That makes sense.
That was
Oh.
not.
one
That was
pick.
not it. I kind of
Okay.
feel like we can just slam Elijah Cansey here.
All right, let's do it. Let's get Kalaj Cansey.
All right, Kalijah.
You gotta press
Pittsburgh
the plus
DT.
Went 6th overall in the Locked On Ultimate mock, by the way. To the line.
Yeah.
Check that out. Locked on.
Check out
Look,
Luke seeing a
NFL?
top 10 player fall to 23 and passing on him.
Well, what do we have? What do we even have left? I don't even know.
I don't
I think
know.
we might have to try to move that 106 up into the top 100. So be ready to pause.
Yeah,
the
let's
draft and
pause.
try to
Let's
trade
pause.
up.
Okay. I feel like we have a busy third round, though. We have 79,
79.
93.
Yeah, but let's see if we
Okay,
can
and
turn 106
106
into something. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can like trade with
Yeah.
the Raiders. No, let's trade with the Saints again. Let's do it at 71. Let's see if we can turn 106 into 71. Or I guess we don't
All
have
right.
106 anymore. We just
Oh no,
traded
we
it.
didn't get that one.
Oh yeah. Well, okay,
Okay.
whatever. Trade 119.
We took a different trade. I got mixed up.
Yeah. And
A future
fourth.
Both fourths,
Okay.
maybe.
Both fourths.
Yeah, for 71. We
Doesn't
don't even
feel like
have a
great
target
value.
in mind. This is great. I love it.
No.
We don't even
We have one very specific goal.
3 4th-round picks for a third. Declined. Dope.
Well, that's just dumb on New Orleans' part.
Yeah, let's try again. Let's try with the Rams. They
probably try to get. Oh, true.
We want
69.
69.
Nice.
We want 69 very badly.
Should we just give them the same offer?
Yeah. Let's see what they do.
Let's see if we can. This decline trade will let us go higher instead.
Okay, let's trade for the Rams 77.
We're gonna have to sweeten the pot here. We want 77
for 119.
We're giving up
2/4
for 119.
119.
You could throw 211 in there. That doesn't do anything for us.
211.
Yeah, and both fourths
and 2/4.
There's no way we're trading a future second for this.
Decline.
Oh,
we'll probably just have to wait a little longer, I think.
All right.
Disappointing.
In fairness, there's no one here that I'm like overjoyed at the prospect of selecting.
Yeah, we can just wait till like the 90s because it's top 100, right? We can barely get in.
Okay, we're on the clock. Oh, the Bills have called.
Yeah,
the
but
Bills
they're not giving us another.
They're not giving
us
a future.
They're not.
Future pick.
Immediate rejection.
Yeah,
we've got Jalen Jones, who I really like, available at cornerback. Right. Yeah,
do it.
Cool.
Darius. Sure. I also like Darius Rush, and I also like Andre Carter, but not that much.
Let's get Jalen Jones then.
Jones or Rush. Braun, you get a say in this.
Don't know a lot about either. Whichever one Arif didn't say.
God damn it.
Darius Rush, who has arguably been the secret to Cam Smith's success by locking down the other side.
Extremely Cope. It's like saying Kobe Bryant was the key.
He's the other South Carolina guy. Yeah. I like Rush. Let's do it.
All right.
I also like Rush. Luke Inman would be proud of this pick. Darius Rush, Andre Carter goes to Pittsburgh, and the Viking. Oh, we better pause this here. So,
yeah, I bet we can get up from 119 now.
Yeah.
Let's trade with the Cardinals again.
Let's do it. Let's fleece them.
Yeah. They're down for anything.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
How you doing? Oh, we could get like pick 96 from them.
Well, let's try 119, and then in that
119 for 87. Yeah. Let's get 87 back.
Yeah, let's get 87 back. Hey,
two
pal,
future for 3/4 for a. Here we go.
3/4.
Got it.
Hey, we did it.
We're in, baby.
Here we go.
Right. Yeah, we don't even have a pick in mind.
Nope.
We've got a DT. We've got a corner. We've got a wide receiver.
I like
quarterback, but that's okay.
I like Jair Brown. Other than that, no one's really screaming out to me. Could do Zach Harrison, I guess, but that's
Tank
not.
Dell is on the board.
He might be there with the next one if you want him.
Yeah.
I like Kendra Miller if you want to go running back, but
yeah, we're out of running back. Yeah, but we could probably wait on the running back a little bit.
Yeah, we can.
Besides, isn't there one near the top two? That's
Zach Evans.
Zach Evans.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I don't have many opinions on him.
Yeah, let's wait on running back because I'm pretty sure he'll be there. Their next.
Seems like safety is bountiful right now. Got 4 safeties here. Jair Brown, you like, Arif?
Yeah.
Let's look at the scouting report. He could be a solid NFL player in his own right. Arif, did you write any of these?
Nope.
Oh. Brown's not afraid to throw himself at ball carriers, but he also has ball skills as well. See, grammatically, would you say he also has ball skills as well? Like, isn't that a little redundant?
I am not going to criticize my colleague.
That's funny. Company man. Love it. Just testing your loyalty. All right, let's take
Arif Hassan, noted corporate drone.
Yeah, that's me.
Yep.
Sorry, I forgot. Who was that? Jay Brown? We like him?
Yeah, that was Jerry Brown.
Yeah, take him.
Okay, we like him. Special teamer. He can learn for a year on the job.
And then I think we could take a running back with our next pick.
Zach Evans went with the very next pick.
Whoa, guys. Whoa.
This sucks.
They want us out of the top
Jags.
100? I don't think so, Jacksonville.
Not doing it, Shad Khan. All right, we're on the clock. 93.
We got Tank Bigsby and Kendre Miller.
I prefer Miller here, but
All right.
All right. Okay, here's Ian writing the recap again. Let's see how he does. No RAS. I wonder why. Explosive athlete, great foot speed, accelerates upfield. Braun, why do you like him?
It's because when I was watching Quentin Johnston, I was like, hey, this running back's kind of good. And then I found out he was coming out for the draft.
Looks like did not work out because of a knee injury. His projected 40 time at Draft Scout is a 4.42. For some reason, he has 32 and 3/8 inch arms. Doesn't really matter at running back, but that's really long. So yeah, burst, agility, twitch, high energy, 215 pounds, guy who's a high energy runner. I mean, sounds like he could be a 3-down guy, right?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm in. Kendre Miller. Tank Dell is still sitting there.
We just got Hopkins, man.
Yeah.
You're right. What's his contract status? I'm already thinking of the future. Already thinking of replacing the guy that we just signed or we just traded for.
I'm pretty sure we would have to redo the contract a lot just to make that a legal trade.
Hopkins is owed $30 million cap hit this year. So
that's
okay,
fine.
but
Boyd years. Let's go.
It does look like the Cardinals take on like a good chunk of that.
Probably. You're probably right about that. Kendre Miller it is. Let's see if we get another trade offer. Come on.
Yeah, the Vikings looks like they take on like a $9 million. Pause. Oh,
shoot. So we turned 23 and 87 into Kalijah Cansey, Darius Rush, Jair Brown, Kendre Miller, and DeAndre Hopkins.
And by the way, Hopkins right now would have like a $9 million, $8.9 million cap hit for the Vikings. The Cardinals are taking on almost all of that contract.
I see 19.5 mil in base salary right now. I guess none of it's guaranteed though.
Well, wouldn't a good chunk of it be guaranteed? Let's see.
No, it's none of it is guaranteed salary. There's a bunch of prorated bonus. I think the Cardinals net save 9 mil because of like acceleration.
Okay.
But 19 mil comes over.
Right. Let's take a look at this calculator. So the Vikings, and then we add Andre Hopkins by trade. All right, so the cap number would be 19.5 unless we add some void years. Let's do that.
Which just would not process.
Speaking of void, Hopkins can void his 2024 year if he reaches certain incentives over a 4-year period. So I don't know where he stands. That's a very interesting. I've never seen that.
That's really interesting.
That's a very interesting incentive. So over the previous 3, we're really down the rabbit hole here, but over the previous 3 years where, again, he didn't play that many games, so I doubt he's going to reach these. He has 221 receptions, and he would have needed 400 to void the year. So he's not going to void the year. So never mind about that, but that was on the table.
So if we convert 15 million of his 19.45 million into signing bonus, add 3 void years, his cap hit would be 7.45 million.
I love how much minutia we just went into this crazy theoretical trade.
Thanks, Arizona. Twice, I guess.
Like the most believable part about this is that it's Arizona doing something catastrophically stupid.
I finally saw the video of Gannon doing the laser noises, boo, 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 to
What?
Rondale Moore. You guys see this?
Yeah.
Reef,
did
you've
not.
seen it.
Yes.
So Jonathan Gannon has already made like a very awkward name for himself. There was like team issued video of him meeting his players.
Yeah.
And he goes up
Will
to,
Hernandez, big guard, big
It's the
guard.
Nick Sirianni playbook.
He goes up to Rondale Moore and he does like finger guns like boo, 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 boo.
And like Rondale's like,
awkward, and then awkward pause.
what are you doing?
And then he's like, well, he says 3 words, right? He goes, explosives, shots, like shot plays, like shots, explosive. And then another pause. You're fast. Like he's trying to like explain to him why he's saying those things. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, then what was it yesterday too? Or I guess it was probably Friday. He just like lied to
fabricated a story to say that, he said the Philadelphia media, when Philadelphia was 9-0, which they never were.
Right. So okay, well, the context was some people were asking him about like his lack of media availability and whether or not he's like afraid to go out in front of the media, and so he was like, "No. Let's be clear here."
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this would be classified as my party foul this week. Let's run that.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready.
Jonathan Gannon spilled his proverbial drink on the sofa. So they're asking him how good he is with the media. He's like, I'm great with the media. I was in a tough media market. When we were 9-0, which we never were.
Happened.
They were, and I can if they were 8-0 or 8-1,
they were 8-0 at one point, and so I was trying to figure out, okay, would it make sense if he'd said this when they were 7-0, 8-0, 8-1? But it still doesn't.
I can forgive that clerical error, but then he says, the media came to me and said, we want you fired.
A thing that they just say, right, in pressers. Like, you remember all the time, Sam, that Ed Donatel came out in a presser, and I was like, hey, Ed, I want you fired. Actually, all of us.
We, collectively, we've signed a petition.
Right.
To get your job.
Your response.
Yeah. And
do you care to comment?
Yeah, right.
And Gannon says, well, at the time, we had 30 more sacks than the next closest team.
So at no point in the history of the NFL has partway through the season any team had 30 plus sacks. But also the Eagles were not even leading the NFL in sacks at the time. There was one moment in week 4 where they led the NFL in sacks. They quickly lost it in week 5, and then they regained it in week 15, finishing the season in week 18 as the league leader in sacks. But in the middle of because you can't, as much leeway as we'll give him, Sam, right? We'll give him like a 2-week leeway on either side of the 9-0, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the middle, he wasn't even leading the team, but leading the league in sacks. But he was like, yeah, we had 30 more sacks than the next best team.
Which could he have? I don't know if he meant pressures. That's a pretty big mistake to make, and I doubt that's true either.
And he meant like 30 plus over like league average, which would be really a weird way to do that.
So this whole like he has told himself a pretty bizarre lie here that if he believes it to be true, he's tripping because
right. And like this exchange never happened, right? Like that's like that's all.
Do you think he dreamed this but couldn't tell the difference because it was the middle of the season? You're probably sleeping like 2 hours a night.
I think he can't tell the difference between dreams and reality because he's Gannon. I think that's the fundamental to who he is. Yeah. Might be why he doesn't know how to interact with people.
Pew, pew, pew.
Just in a constant state of like not really sure if you're in a lucid dream or not.
Yeah. Will Hernandez, big guard.
Very weird Matrix sequel.
Yeah.
So here's what we have coming up this week on the Minnesota Football Party. Luke Inman back tomorrow. He will instigate some draft-related talkers. We'll continue the draft analysis as we close in. Locked on Vikings, of course, with Luke Braun. They're going to have you covered all week, including live on draft night, correct?
Yep.
All right. Mailbag show Wednesday with Reggie Wilson. Get your final draft questions in. Thursday, we've got the meeting of the minds, all four of us, plus Ron Johnson, official draft predictions. And then we'll all be back on Monday to talk about it. So that's what's coming up on the Minnesota Football Party. Arif Hassan, find his draft work at Pro Football Network and that consensus board dropping soon. Luke Braun, Locked on Vikings host. Follow him for more in-depth Vikings analysis. And I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks so much for watching today on this Monday. Go read some crazy mock drafts and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time.